This is such a big conversation, and I've been wanting to film this video for so long, and I don't even fully know where to start, so I'm just gonna start. A lot of you noticed a big change in my content, and you're wondering why. I went through a spiritual awakening, straight up. What does that mean for someone who hasn't gone through a spiritual awakening? We live in a time now where you could have a spiritual awakening back in the day, and it was usually, maybe like an aunt or uncle or whatever, and then they, left and never talked to anybody again, and they could go off and live peacefully in their existence and their bliss of being a conscious human. Right now, the people that are awakening, that's not really an option, because we are actually, if you have not heard, we are in a battle of good versus evil that has been going on since the beginning of time, okay? And God has sent 144,000 people here with a higher frequency and also with built-in gifts and abilities that are here to help raise the frequency of our earth. Because that's what this, when I say everything is energy, guys, everything is energy, and energy that is created can never be destroyed. The only thing that can happen is it can be transmuted. It can be changed into another energy, but it can never be destroyed, which is very important to remember. So as this battle progresses, and you can see we're taking on more and more negative energy in our beings and in our earth, more and more of us are now waking up, or again, becoming conscious, because we need to raise the frequency of earth. And this is, again, goes back to everything I'm talking about, that everything is energy, everything is a frequency. So essentially, yeah, we're in a war of frequencies right now. And it's actually like the simplest solution ever to fix this. And people have been trying to tell this to everyone for decades. And typically what's happened in the past is people who are unawakened and heavily programmed and not conscious, and they don't, again, you don't even know it. You've been conditioned through everything you watch, everything you consume, everything that you hear, to be scared, to be fearful, to think that, a spiritual awakening is some like crazy talk and wild and all this stuff. And no, it's literally just becoming a conscious human. And if you're not conscious, you'll think, oh, but no, I'm conscious, da, da, da. I promise you, if you've never had a spiritual awakening, you would know the difference of being actually conscious and being conditionally conscious. And once you're conscious, you're able to see things crystal clear. And then you start to see all of your gifts and your abilities. And again, the ones who were sent here have these abilities in their charts, and it's in your birth chart. Again, that is your energy. So astrology was mostly wrongly explained so that people would devalue it, would not see, its power, its energy. But you have to realize the entire world that we live in is based off of an astrology calendar. Like the elections fall on some of the biggest astrology dates. The entire world, even I'll notice they'll do things on big full moons or high energy days. So once you start knowing what the high energy days are and aren't, it's very easy to see who's doing what, when, and what they're doing with it, right? So the very people that have told you to disregard this information use this every single day to condition you. It's actually pretty wild. So if you are someone who this is resonating with, you most likely are starting to wake up, or maybe you are conscious already, okay? And you're like, oh God, finally someone else. That's what it feels like when you become a conscious person and you are walking around in a world where people are mostly still not conscious. It feels so good to find someone who is conscious, because you're like, oh man, we can actually have a real conversation, right? So if you are one of those people, you're most likely, and this is the way that most spiritual awakenings are designed to happen, is that it's usually the black sheep of the family, meaning someone who, has always done things differently, has kind of taken on the most pain also for the family, because The way that karma works in bloodlines is we call in people to our families, right? And then we take on karma for each other. So you might even notice that, for example, if you have children, look at them and see, have they gotten injuries that you have? They're helping you clear karma. Do you have animals? Have your animals gotten similar injuries to what you have? Maybe you had shoulder surgery. Maybe they also had shoulder surgery. And was it on the same side of the body? Start to look for those patterns, because that is telling you where those, again, energies, people, animals, everything is energy, have come into your life to help clear karma. And we all do this for each other, right? Because again, even though we are all unique, we are all like collectively working together to remove and transmute energy. So it's actually really beautiful, but you can start to see where the karma lies in the family. So the black sheep of the family, again, usually has gone through the most pain and taken on the most karma for the family. And almost always people don't even realize it, because they've basically like kind of make them their dirty laundry, right? They're like, oh, that's just so-and-so in the family. They're the worst, or, that's just how they are. When meanwhile, a lot of those people didn't even have a chance from day one. Maybe they were the youngest of 5, the youngest of 7, maybe whatever it was, right? And they kind of just got like, no identity. They just got swept into things. Now, what will happen is all of the karma, all of that pain that you've taken on. And what people also don't realize is usually that black sheep is the most sensitive. They are the most caring, and they were hurt really bad. And because of that, they don't want anyone else to feel that way. It's almost like you knew that this was part of your role in being here. So you then, your whole life, take on more pain and more sadness and more hurt for people that are around you, usually in your family, because you don't want anybody else to hurt the way that you've been hurt. But you reach a certain point where you can't do that anymore. You become too overloaded. The pain gets too bad. And the beauty of the way God made this work is that pain becomes the very catalyst that basically starts your consciousness, your spiritual awakening. And then you get rewarded with gifts, because yes, we all have, they talk about like psychics, right? Psychic literally just means soul gift. So if you have a soul, you are psychic. And you have to start looking around at everything in our life. It's designed as an aspect of the conscious beings that we actually are, okay? So we are telepathic, which means we can see things in our mind's eye. We watch television. Again, this is not a coincidence. They just take the exact technology that we own and we possess inside our very beings when we become conscious. Again, the uniting of your energetic and your physical body, that is when you are conscious. So they take these concepts, these technologies, and then they put it right in our face. And then you think, oh, no, that's impossible. No, psychics and anyone who channels information, we get what's called downloads. What do you do on a computer? You download information. Where do you think they got that term from? Again, it's all directly in our faces. We even get channels, right? We get channels of information in our telepathy, right? So what do you watch on a television? Channels of information. Again, guys, open up, okay? Wake up your eyes and start to see that this is not some weird spiritual thing. They are gifts. They are gifts that we all possess and have the ability to access, but you have to be willing to go inside and do the work and go through the awakening and transmute the pain and go through all the karma and go through your entire lifetime and become conscious. So as you awaken, you'll get the rewards, right? You start to find out what your gifts are. Now, what's interesting is that some people have access to their gifts from childhood, right? So they might not have been fully conscious, but they've always had their gifts. They've just been there. And some of those people can have the hardest lives, because imagine having that gift of being able to connect with energy and, spirits, whatever you want to call them. Again, they're just energy readers, but your entire life and your family have no idea that you have those ability. And they're like, oh, you're crazy. Oh, be quiet. Oh, stop talking. Oh, here she goes again, right? What that does to someone with that gift, it's so detrimental. So if you do actually have also children who are exhibiting signs of, being spiritually advanced or being already connected, it is very important to nurture and create a safe space for them to explain that with you, because it's wild out there, guys. I spent a lot of time learning and understanding the spiritual community, and we have some amazing, amazing energetic workers here that have all kinds of gifts. I mean, there's people that can see sound. There's people that are just excellent, right? You talk about psychics. There's also mystics. There's oracles. There's all these different people with all these different abilities, right? We even have like universal receivers, and there's so much information to start to figure out like who you are and what your gifts are, so you can look at, there's so many things. And it's really exciting. If you couldn't tell, I could talk about this stuff all day. But because again, it's all the different energies that make you, you. So it's first and foremost, your natal chart, your birth chart, again, was wrongly explained so that you would dismiss its validity when it is the very thing that will connect you to so much of yourself. So you have to think of it. It's basically your energetic footprint from the moment that you came to this earth. And it's different for everyone. So again, while we are all the same, we're all, again, incredibly unique and different. So that's where it's really important to not have groupthink or not think everyone learns the same, because your abilities may give you gifts and things over someone else. And we're all here to do very different things, right? To fulfill different roles. So, but it can happen so many different ways. So you can have access to your gifts from a young age, then have a spiritual awakening, then have a Kundalini awakening, and then become whole and conscious, or you could do it all at once, right? There's really no rhyme or reason. So if you're someone who's going through this and you're trying to find answers, because again, I was there, and I explored everything. I went everywhere. I talked to everyone. I learned everything to ultimately find out, again, there's so many ways that it can happen for all of us. And what's really cool about it, and this is one of my favorite things, is that the way that we receive information may all be different, but it's often always the same information. And especially right now, we're getting so much, again, the battle of good versus evil. People talk about the second coming of Jesus Christ and Christ consciousness. I believe we are all that are awakening, we're all basically hardwired with the Christ consciousness in us. So there's just access to information that we now have, because again, we've connected our energetic and our physical body. Now, when you do that, and again, I tell you, you become whole, you become conscious, you are then able to connect with source energy. Same thing again with computers. What do they have? The source computer, source energy, right? It's the same exact thing. And again, it's not a coincidence. It's based off of our own technology, okay? So when you can connect to source energy, you can access information out of thin air. Again, they used to call it divination, right? Or again, and they kind of like looked down on, but really it's the ability to access information without a book. That's divination. And everyone has it. Nikola Tesla, he used to say some of his biggest, pieces of information, he would fall asleep with a notebook open or a book on him or whatever, and wake up and just have the information. And that happens. That's happened to me. That's happened to some of my good friends that I've talked to. And it's the coolest thing. I have one friend, she's a massage therapist, and she was trying to learn anatomy. She had a dream and was taken through the inside of a body and woke up knowing the entire anatomy of the human body. And this is all absolutely possible. And again, everyone has different abilities. Everyone has different gifts. So it doesn't mean that you'll experience it the same way. All it's meant to do is just open up to your mind to the possibilities of how you are collecting and receiving information. So when I say that we all have different ways of collecting the information, but it ends up all being the same. So for example, I have a friend I was talking to last week, and she has a very different, she basically has a spirit team. Okay. So we all have a team that is around us at all times, but they cannot interact or help us if we don't ask for their help. We have to say, hey, I want your help, right? That's called universal law. So she just has her guides around her all the time, and she's able to connect with them all the time. A lot of people who aren't awakened, they don't know how to connect with their spirit team, right? Or the people who are around them, or the energies that are around them. Again, however you want to word it. So like, for example, also, I knew someone who I had gotten direct communication from someone who had passed, who I never knew at any point, but the minute that they were there, I knew who it was. And so I had actually gone, because this would happen to me all the time, but it was always for things in my own family that I kept to myself, because when I did try to share it, people got strange. But so I had this happen, and I went to one of my friends who she was a very good tarot reader. So tarot, again, they're just cards that you can use to read energy. And without telling her any information. And so I just went to her and said, hey, I just had an energy approach me, and this was like one of the first times. And I said, I need you to confirm, who it was and what they said. And she was able to tap right in, and she said, it was this person, and this is what they said. And I said, okay. And so now I had to go deliver the message. So I went and told this person, and I said, hey, your dead father came to me, and he wants you to go visit him at the cemetery with your daughter. And they started crying, and I, again, have no idea, right, what I'm talking about, if it's right, if it's wrong. I've never known this person. And they start crying, and they say, did you know I have never gone back to my father's grave since he passed? And that was like when they were like 15, and they were, like in their 40s now. And I've never taken my daughter to his grave. And I said, I did not know that, but that's what he was telling me. And he really wants you to go. And they did. And then it was funny, because one of the things they were like, I've been trying to connect with him for years. How were you able to? And again, I wasn't even trying to do anything. I was just existing by raising my frequency and becoming conscious. And again, he showed me in my mind's eye a lot of drinking, a lot of bottles, a lot of numbing. And when you are drinking that much and numbing yourself that much, energy, you can't connect. It dulls your frequency. It lowers your frequency. You need a very high frequency when working with energy. So if you do want to connect and you do want to do this stuff, alcohol, or again, spirits as they call it, is going to dampen a lot of your abilities when it comes to this. So there's certain things that will enhance it, and there's certain things that will lower it. So, but it's wild. And, I have friends that are excellent energy people, and they taught me about crystals and grid work, and basically how we can all raise the frequency of the land just by going places. With our own frequency. Just visiting a location can raise the frequency, which will help remove negative energy from that place. And now for me too, I don't always get a lot of spirit energy information. I can if I tap into it, but I actually have, my gifts are recognizing patterns, uncovering hidden agendas. I also have mystic and oracle abilities, and it's wild. Like when information comes in, and there'll be things I'll know or say or write or film a video or whatever it is. And it's just energy that I'm channeling to deliver a message from source. That is exactly what energy readers do, okay? So it is a connection to source to bring the right vibrations, the right frequency, the right alignment, all of this here. And we all have it. You just have to tap in. Now, I know a lot of you on here, this is going to be new information for you, but this is not new for the spiritual community. If you spend any time, I highly recommend you check out the spiritual community on TikTok for sure. But if you spend any time around anyone who is a spiritual person, an energy reader, who is a conscious human, who is awake, who is any of those things, while we all experience this differently, they're all going to agree with the general principles of all of this, okay? So this is just how it works. So again, this message is for those of you who this is resonating for, and you are awakening and you have no one around you, and you're like, this is wild, and who do I talk to, and where do I go, and what do I do, and how do I even decipher what's happening? Is this real? Yes, it's real. 1000% it's real. Yes, you have those gifts. Yes, you have those abilities. That is how we were designed to be. If you have any questions, again, I'm happy to book a session with me. I'm happy to work with anyone on this because I've done this for myself. So a lot of the information that I'm bringing to you guys too about energy, about frequencies, about all these things is information that I directly channeled, uncovered, accessed, learned, and taught myself. But I taught myself first. Like, again, I've spent 4 years now, and if not my entire life, but really the last 4 years, researching, experimenting, trying all of this on myself to make sure that like what I believed to be true was true. And I've done this with everything. Like I've told you, I started questioning everything, like working out. You guys know I've worked out my entire life. I was a 3-sport athlete. I was a D1 athlete. Sports literally made me who I was. And it was like, I couldn't go a day without working out because I needed it to function at my highest level. But during my research and experimenting, I started to question, hey, okay, so if they say that, working out and eating right is the healthiest thing that we can do, then we would see those people living the longest. But we're not. And often some of our highest level athletes die earlier than people who never trained or, ate or anything at the way they did at that level. And then you have, these other people who are outliving them who never did any of that. So I stopped working out in December of last year to start testing all these theories. I haven't worked out since December. I've never felt better. I stopped eating the way that I used to eat, that we were conditioned to believe we needed to eat. I've never felt better. I've stopped doing basically everything that I could think of that we had been conditioned to believe. I stopped doing it. And I started doing the opposite. And then I started listening to my intuition and my own ability to heal myself, which, it's like, shaman vibes, okay? So I literally healed myself by experimenting on all these methods and then using my intuition and following that to get to the healthiest version of me that I've ever been in my life. And that's when I knew, man, if I can do this for me, it's got to work for everyone else too. And through all of that, that is how I learned to create my method of energy work. Because the point that we're at right now, we need to raise the frequency of the earth as quickly as we can. So we don't really have time for everyone to, take as long as they need to experimenting like I did and working with dark and light energies and, learning lessons and doing all of that, right? So I've done it all and I'm happy to guide you through it. It does not mean that it was, again, it's going to take away any of the sadness or the pain or the traumas that you've experienced, but it does mean that you can move through them quicker to get to the other side, to get to your side that you want to be on, where you can then become a beacon of light, right? That's what we are. We're all little lighthouses that we go around and we share our light with everyone after we've healed ourselves. So that is what I can help you with. And that, no pun intended, but also it's true. It lights me up more than anything because it's like when I set out to find these answers, they don't exist. It's like no one's put all the pieces of the puzzle together in this kind of way that's a little bit like more neat and explainable to the people who aren't over on the energy side yet or aren't in the spiritual world or aren't doing these things yet. So yes, if you are waking up, it is all by design. There's waves of it happening. I believe the second wave just woke up. We're going to the third wave is starting to wake up. And by waking up, it might be that you're having, you feel like, what am I doing here? What am I doing in this relationship? What am I doing in this job? It's like everything that you start to basically reject everything that you are now living. And that is when you start to become conscious. And that's like your golden ticket out of there. So yes, I'm going to be talking way more about this. It's such a big conversation. It's really hard to like boil down to a video. And then like I can go on so many different ways and tangents because that is how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be like these limitless beings, right? Where we can have these interesting conversations and open our minds and find out our gifts, and we do it all and then share it with each other, right? Like it's about community and working together and making sure that, you know, anyone who is willing and wants to get better and feel better, you have a place to do that, right? So again, if you want to book a session with me, if you're going through this, I am happy to work with you on this and guide you, and know that you are not alone. There's a way more of these people in the world than you realize. There's help. And then if you are awake, we do need everyone sharing your messages, sharing your information, because again, it's not your information. It's not like your thought, right? It's direct information from source that was given to us to share because somebody else needs to hear it. Because then we start to unlock each other. Those are the keys. So as more and more of us start to awaken, start to share our information, start to, you know, go through our spiritual awakenings, we unlock more and more of each other. So everything will happen at a faster rate. So, and also, again, if you aren't even close to being awakened or really have no idea what I'm saying right now, that's okay too, because this information, again, about frequencies, about how our earth works, everything that I share, if you even, if you don't understand that it's true yet, just know it's fact. Like this is absolutely how our universe operates. So when it comes to, you know, changing your subconscious programming, changing the frequencies that you've, you know, taken on that are not yours, all those things, they still apply to you. So you can essentially like never awaken, right? Because not everyone is also meant to awaken in this lifetime. And it's very easy to tell who is not meant to awaken in this lifetime. A lot of them can be very negative. There's still the people in today's world where there's people out here trying to do positive things and they're still trying to say something negative about them and complain and be, you know, in their ego and be triggered. And they're just trying to bring down other people whose lights are shining bright. Ignore them, delete them, let them go on their way, because that is also happening. Let them go on their way, and you continue being the beacon of light that you are, and stay the course and don't get pulled down in the negativity. Again, we want to keep the frequencies high, okay? So yes, if you have any questions, DM me, shoot me an email. But I plan to explain way more of this, and I look forward to helping anyone who is going through this exact situation.